Life without parole sentences for juveniles are abolished as the Maryland General Assembly overturns vetoes from the governor. I'm Valerie Bonk.
A Virginia community fights to preserve cemeteries where former slaves are buried. I'm Melissa Howell.
It's 6 o'clock.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Dell Small Business.
I'm Matt Piper in New York. The economy is set to make a turnaround. That from Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell, who says it'll come with increased growth that should provide more jobs. He sits down with our Scott Pelley on tonight's 60 Minutes.
What we're seeing now is really an economy that seems to be at an inflection point, and that's because of widespread vaccination and strong fiscal support, strong monetary policy support. We feel like we're at a place where the economy is about to start growing much more quickly and job creation coming in much more quickly. So the principal risk to our economy right now really is that the disease would spread again.
On Face the Nation, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says she's hopeful of getting bipartisan support for President Biden's infrastructure and jobs bill.
The public understands that the worst and most expensive maintenance is no maintenance, and we have to maintain our roads, our bridges, our mass transit. We have to upgrade our water systems. We have to build out our broadband for distance learning and telemedicine and the rest of that.
But not everyone's on board. The number 3 Republican in the House, Wyoming Congresswoman Liz Cheney, also on Face the Nation.
They massively increase spending. They massively expand the size and scope of the federal government, and then they come back around and impose middle-class tax increases.
At an invitation-only speech at former President Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort last night, he reportedly mocked Mitch McConnell, his wife Elaine Chao, who was Mr. Trump's transportation secretary, and even said he was disappointed in Vice President Mike Pence. Arkansas Republican Governor Asa Hutchinson on CNN.
In some ways, it's not a big deal what he said, but at the same time, whenever it draws attention, we don't need that. We need unity. We need to be focused together. We have slim numbers in Washington, and we got battles to fight, so we need to get beyond that.
A rally outside the Masters tournament amid controversy over Georgia's new voting law.
As the Masters was taking place on the course at the Augusta National Golf Club, a church group and other organizations gathered outside the course, voicing their opinions about the new Georgia voting law.
That's what this law is doing. It is trying to take away from black and brown people. It's taking away from them the right that is given to them by the Constitution.
About 36 people attended the rally, hoping to get the attention of corporations sponsoring the tournament and pushing them to take a stand against the law, which they say limits voting specifically for blacks. Stacey Lynn, CBS News.
At least one person was killed in Florida following severe weather statewide. This is CBS News.
Dell Technologies advisors listen to your small business needs so they can provide you with tailored solutions powered by Intel vPro platform. Call today, 877-ASK-DELL.
It's 6:03. It's Sunday, the 11th day of April, 2021. 77 degrees outside. We are headed down to the upper 50s. And good Sunday evening. I'm Del Walters. The top local stories we're following for you at this hour. Changes are coming to Metro. Follows mechanical problems on a Red Line train last month. More than 100 passengers stranded near the Rhode Island Metro station.
Metro found that during that incident, customers sat on board the train for 90 minutes without any guidance, and 2 passengers got off the train themselves. Now, Metro employees will be required to trigger a full emergency response whenever a train or bus breaks down. The Washington Post obtained an internal memo from Metro General Manager Paul Wiedefield. In it, he said he wants to emphasize the agency's safety trumps service culture. Now, Metro employees will have to communicate more with passengers during breakdowns or service delays. And anytime a train, bus, or Metro access card does break down, emergency management staff must be notified. Safety officials will also remind Metro staff of their duty to report unusual occurrences. Acacia James, WTOP News.
It was also discovered that once passengers had been evacuated, the disabled train rolled more than 100 feet on its own. That fact was not reported as required. Sentences of life without parole for juveniles will soon be done away with in Maryland. Comes after the State House overturned a veto from Governor Larry Hogan.
The bill, called the Juvenile Restoration Act, will prohibit courts from imposing life sentences for juveniles, and it requires authorities to sentence minors convicted as adults to less than the legal minimum term. Senator Dolores Kelly from Baltimore County says incarcerated juveniles should get a second chance.
Kids are not just miniature adults. Psychologically, They're not where they need to be.
When he issued his veto, Hogan said that the bill impacts juveniles that have committed the most heinous of crimes, and that requires the most serious of consequences. Valerie Bonk, WTOP News.
And some other vetoes were also overridden, one that requires police departments statewide to provide worn body cameras for off-duty officers by 2025, as will regulations for state warrants, and certain police misconduct records will now be made public. Lawmakers had already overturned Hogan's veto of a bill that repeals the Law Enforcement Officers' Bill of Rights. This is a fight that has united a community, a small town in Prince William County, now working to save the resting place of former slaves.
Frank Washington grew up in Thoroughfare, Virginia.
Such a small town. Honestly, a lot of people haven't heard of it.
Now he's leading a coalition to save historic African-American cemeteries where his ancestors are buried.
Several in the area, but 2 have come under encroachment issues.
Developers are looking to move in with plans to excavate bodies and destroy buildings built by slaves dating back hundreds of years.
The history is here. The heritage is here. People coming in don't seem to have an idea of the reverence or the respect that we have, for those that have gone on before us.
The coalition has since started a GoFundMe and is working with elected officials. The goal, to honor those who came before him.
I want to see it held on to and just passed on from generation to generation.
Melissa Howell, WTOP News.
And you can see the photos of the cemeteries by going to WTOP.com. The University of Virginia dedicating a new memorial to the 4,000 enslaved and free laborers who built and worked on the Charlottesville campus. Elise Henderson is one of their descendants.
And the other 4,000 slaves who built this institution. It means telling their stories and the start of righting a wrong.
Now, because of COVID, the dedication was pre-recorded and then aired today. Students led the push for that memorial more than a decade ago. It was completed last year. Instead, I had a confrontation between police and a soldier, now leading to change. It's 6:07.
Remodeling for how you live today. Here's Craig DeRosco, founder of Sun Design Remodeling, sharing how remodeling can bring family and friends together.
It's very common where people would call us and say, I need an addition. I need a bigger kitchen. Only to find out there's multiple rooms in their house they're not using on a daily basis. And if they're not using it daily, we're really looking at it to say, is this space important for you to have? Some people really like to have the formal dining room that's only used twice a year. Some people really like to have a formal living room with maybe a piano in it. And other clients are very open to repurposing those spaces. It might be that there's a home office on the main level, but they might have retired, so they might not be using it as much as they used it before. So by adding a full bathroom off the home office, it could be a future in-law suite. It could be a future master bedroom too.
Join Sun Design at their virtual remodeled home tour event on April 29th. Learn how your neighbors are modifying their homes for a better quality of life. Register at sundesigninc.com.
Thanks for calling 1-800-GOT-JUNK.